It's Michelle. It's Michelle Demarest, Demarest, Sunseri, Sunseri. Or you could go Michelle Sunseri. Her stage name is Michelle Demarest because a bunch of family members are on her side of lawyers. It's DEM. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Family law. So we're probably gonna do a little bit of that. So
These don't work, right?
huh?
These don't work, is this?
This won't. Yeah, that doesn't work. Yeah, that doesn't work. Got your pen. Got your paper. Got your this.
We live?
Yeah. Um, we're a little early. I'll put on a little early. Let's see. We're decking. I thought that. Gotcha. I got I got some things that I ran off. Nothing. Divorce statistics.
Okay, you're reading them to me, or?
Yeah. No, nothing. Hey, Colin, the feed is too much. Yeah, the feed's gone in or out. Okay, just let me get it. Is that better?
Yeah, I don't know if I can hear it.
Yeah, the feed's well, not anymore. It's too loud.
Yeah.
Well, his on in your earphones. Let me hear it.
Here, you want to hear?
Let me make sure. Get your. Test. Okay.
Okay.
Is that better? Just tell me which. Test. Is that better, louder?
It's better.
Okay. Yeah.
It's your microphone.
Huh?
It's your microphone.
I know, but I have to keep it loud.
Okay.
I can't. He wants.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just do it. That's okay. It's okay. I'll deal with it. That's what I'm doing.
Test. Okay. You want me to put it in lower? Hey, good morning. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud is not here today. Your weekend lawyers, I got Michelle Demers Sunseri. Albert is off this weekend. All things legal. We're on to 10:30. We're leading into the LSU Sanford baseball game, game 3. Hopefully that game will go more than 7 innings. Michelle, thank you for responding to my elbow this morning and joining us. And
Thank you for having me.
sitting in for Albert. And there's a consensus when you sit in, especially if you look at the podcast. It's a lot more appealing to watch the podcast with you on as opposed to watching Albert roll out of bed.
Poor Albert. But thank you. Thank you.
But that's just a general consensus there. In fact, Albert is at his annual St. Patrick's Day parade. He lives off the route, and he has a huge party for his friends and also listeners of the of All Things Legal to
You're going to give
attend.
directions again?
Yeah, well, once they get in the house. Well, actually, one thing I am going to do, the parade starts at 12, and on his street, there will be a traffic issue because the alcohol truck will be unloading for several hours to Albert's house in preparation for the party.
I hope the weather holds up for him.
Yeah, I think
It's
it
like an
will.
ultra-
I think it will. It'll hold up. But by 3 o'clock, most of the attendees at Albert's party will not be cognizant as to whether it's raining or not. So, no, actually, I think I don't want to give the exact address, but it is on the road.
You'll know it.
Huh? You'll know it. But like we say every year, if you're a listener of All Things Legal, you're invited to Albert's house. Just walk in. Don't even tell him you're there.
Head straight to the back.
Well, right. He lives in a shotgun house with a upstairs. But so if you go all the way to the back, that's where the bar is. And there's several tables of food and hors d'oeuvres on the way. Help yourself. There's a couple of bathrooms on the first floor. If the bathrooms in the first floor aren't available, go upstairs to his bedroom and use that one. It's just fine. Don't even ask. So anyway.
Poor man.
Poor man. But anyway, also too, if we ever have prohibition, Albert will be ready. Let's see how we do that. And so we will. So Albert, have fun, and like I said, there will be a traffic jam in front of his house as they're unloading the alcohol. Also, we start out with sports, and I always throw this at you because I try not to talk to you as much about sports.
I have no idea what's
You
going
have no
on today.
idea? Okay, Derek Carr. You know about that.
I do know. I went to the Pelicans game last night too with all of his kids.
Yeah, good. Yeah, cute family, didn't he?
Very cute.
Look, 4 boys, 4 young boys, and they were just being boys. They, really good. They were cute. They were nice family. But I guess the overall opinion is good. He was the best that's available. The way I see it is, well, first of all, we all got to get behind him.
Sure.
And
he's in our city.
he's in our city. We got to get behind him. And I think some of the consensus was with Derek Carr, you're going to have a higher floor, meaning we're going to get a more predictable performance at quarterback. It won't be the variance won't be so great. Some of the concern would be the ceiling might be a little lower because I think there's
performance level.
Well, I think there's a consensus that he's a second tier quarterback. You know, they have Burrow, they have Mahomes, they have Josh Allen, and then you have the second tier, which was Ryan Tannehill, Dak Prescott. So you know that's all that was available in the short term. So I think one of the things that Saints have made a decision is they still think there's an open window to be competitive in the playoffs or possibly win the division. In other words, they have um, on their credit card for the salary cap, they pushed it off to the next few years. The credit card will become due at some point in the future, but they put it off another year because they think they have an opportunity this year to win the NFC South. So that's their thought. Whereas Carolina, which I know I haven't talked to you about.
No,
We haven't had pillow talk about this.
not
but
about Carolina.
Carolina just traded for the first round pick with Chicago. And so Carolina's going to sort of blow up the entire team. They're probably going to pick Bryce Young from Alabama, which I think is a risk. He's only 5'10". I mean, he's not
Does he play?
quarterback. He's quarterback for Alabama. He's great. But I don't know that I don't know that he's worthy of a number one pick. I think he's a big risk. And they're getting all these draft picks, and they're starting all over. So the floor for Carolina is going to be very low next year. Eventually, next 4 or 5 years, the ceiling could be high if Bryce Young works out.
Right.
But I'm not sure. You know, that's the risk. I think if you look at it this way, Carolina is buying a stock that could have a 0% return or a 15 or 20% return.
Right. They're betting on the future.
Yeah. The Saints bought a stock that's going to give you a steady 5 or 6% return with Derek Carr. So that's a good, good financial way to look at it. So, but it's time to get behind him. Scotty Craig from Katie said Derek Carr is going to quit, kill it.
That's right. He just said
So
that.
Scotty, yeah, well, we hope so. We hope so, and we're all in, and we will. That's all he could do. He was the best quarterback on the market without giving up substantial assets. Aaron Rodgers, we didn't have the assets to get him. I don't know he would be the right fit down here.
Right.
Anyway, so he's probably going to the Jets. So also Scotty had asked about the Pels.
Oh well, he didn't ask.
Yeah, he said
They're done.
They're done. He said Pels are done. I think so. They're brittle.
Yeah, they started off so.
Started out well.
High hopes.
Zion is a $233 million commodity, and he's 21 years old. And I think he's going to have to realize that his job is 24/7. That he's got a very unique body that requires 24/7 care.
Right. He probably hadn't realized that yet because he's so young.
He's so young. And until he realizes that, because a lot of these injuries, I would say, probably could have been avoided if he was a little bit more diligent about, about his taking care of. Yeah. I think it's a 24/7 deal, and
well, hopefully he'll have that realization sooner rather than later.
Now we got another text from Scotty who said C.J. Stroud from Ohio State's their guy, which could be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to show their hand just yet. So C.J. Stroud is the quarterback for Ohio State.
Yeah.
But he's got more of the classic measurables, height, weight, and came on strong at the end of the year. Had a great game against Georgia in the semifinals. But, Bryce Young, we saw Bryce Young at the LSU game, and, he was fantastic.
He's a good player.
So it's just the height issues, the Kyler Murray issue. I think he has a better attitude than Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is the quarterback for the Cardinals. So go there. Also, like we said, we're leading into the LSU-Sanford game.
Okay.
LSU has mercy ruled 5 games this year.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Because they put the 10-run rule in there.
Yeah.
They've done 2 things to help the game. One, they have the pitch clock. Now, when we go to games, sometimes they're 4 4 hours. I mean, it's an all-day
It is
deal.
an all day thing.
Now they have a pitch clock for the batter and the
You
pitcher.
were telling me that. When did they start that?
They started this year because I think one of the things was a lot of, you know, they always say baseball is 3 minutes of action spread out into 2 or 3 hours.
Right, that's what you said.
Right. And so now I think they're trying to condense that a little more because a lot of those players have rituals.
I know, and they're so funny.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
they're long.
yeah, you know, with the gloves and then.
Yeah, like the volleyball girls did it when they would go to serve, but it was only like a couple of seconds.
Yeah, they had they have these rituals, and I think they watch TV and you know the major league players have the rituals. So you always want to emulate, you know, whoever you watch, and you know now the rituals are gone. You know,
They're not gonna like
undo
their gloves.
They're gonna run. They're gonna run around the bases with a maladjusted jockstrap now. So you see them running crooked. It's because of the pitch clock. But you know, not as much spit. You don't like the spitting too.
No.
I know you don't like all that. So and also Colin, our engineer at Master Control, said LSU won 5 of the last 6 games by the mercy rule. And okay, you haven't talked to Colin yet. Colin's a new. I will have to say he's our best engineer since Aldo. With all due respect to everyone else. And now Ian does a great job, but he was just temporary. And so, but Colin,
Ian doesn't count.
No, Ian stepped in because Ian's like Taysom Hill around the station. He does everything. So he had to step into it, Colin. But we decided Colin's a Gen Z, so we made Colin the official correspondent for Gen Z correspondent for Nicaud and Sunseri.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Colin, you accepted that? Oh, you have. Okay. If there's any legal issues that are specific to Gen Zs, you're welcome at any time to come in because, you know, we have Gen Zs for kids, you know, so we're sort of out of the loop. So just let us know.
What age is Gen Zs?
I think 23 to 28.
It says Mia.
Mia's 20. She's a Gen Z.
She's a Gen Z.
Maddie's a Gen Z. Jack's a Gen Z. So we got a bunch of Gen Zs in our family. So anyway, and Colin accepted. So Colin's 20. You 23, huh, Colin? He's just 23. He's like on the tail end of the Gen Zs.
Okay.
So all right.
You told him the pay is really. Like,
yeah. You know what, Colin? We're thinking about doubling your pay for it. So anyway, so LSU. Now I have to say this: LSU has probably the most talented team it's ever had, even with the Skip Burton teams. I mean, they're like murderers row.
So what happened? So they had some transfers.
Yeah, they have a transfer portal now, and they're killing it. But they have probably they probably have 3 seniors, or not 3 seniors, 3 players who are eligible who are going to be picked in the top 10 in the Major League draft.
Who is that?
Dylan Cruz, Paul Skeens, Trey Morgan may be up there. They have Tommy. I don't know if Tommy White's going to be eligible. But they have Cade Beloso, bless his heart. Cade was a starter when he was a freshman. Then they had the COVID years.
Right.
He was hurt last year, and he came. Now he could have transferred out and started anywhere. He is that good. And he stayed with LSU, and I think he went to John Curtis. He's local, and he is probably, and he's going to play. He's going to be he's going to pinch hit. He's going to play for some first base, but he's probably on the bench, maybe 15 or 16. And he could start anywhere. He could start at most of the SEC teams. And I admire Cade for staying for LSU. He loves LSU. His folks love LSU. He's going to be a big part of he's a spiritual leader of the team. And he's going to be a big part of the team. And he's going to make a great contribution. But that's how good they are.
Wow.
And they didn't have pitching last
bench,
year.
huh?
Yeah, they didn't have pitching. So last year. The pitching fell apart against USM
Yeah, I remember that.
in the regionals, so, but not this year. They're deep. So this is probably now. Even though you have the most talented team, you still got to go out there and play.
Sure.
Now they have so far, and they hadn't really had any competition except the weekend they played in Texas. They played Kansas State. They lost to Iowa, and they played Sam Houston. That was probably their best competition. But now they start next week. Texas A&M. They play SEC. So it's the real thing's going to happen next week. So that's sort of a wrap on that. But you're here, and what we're going to do is when you're here, you're sort of we used to kid and say that you're like an expert in family law. So we're not saying that because the Bar Association gets upset about that.
Yeah, they get upset.
But we call you a guru. So you're a lot of family law, and I will be asking you some questions about family law.
Okay.
And,
I'm happy to answer.
And if anybody wants to call off air about Albert's party, any specifics, I'm telling you that I've not.
You know, I have never been to that parade.
The St. Patrick's on Metairie Road.
No.
It's I think Albert invited us about 20 years ago.
I think I always do the show with you.
Yeah, we always cover for Albert. And he'll but it's a good time over there. And so Albert comes in a little bloodshot Monday morning.
I guess people are just like getting over Mardi Gras and ready for the next party.
Yeah, and then they got St. Joseph's next week.
Is that's in New Orleans?
Yeah, that's the one your dad's old firm, Tony Russo, runs.
Yeah.
So yes, that's the St. Joseph Parade.
I've been to that one years ago.
Now, from here on out, New Orleans will have a festival probably every weekend.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Now, the festivals. Now
it's not just New Orleans. I was in a meat Saturday, like the Oyster Festival.
Well, yeah, South Louisiana. Mm-hmm. That's cultural economy. That's what attracts people here. If they'd stop the bullets and gunshots, they would get even more people here to enjoy the cultural economy. So, all right, well, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers, Sunseri, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
I think my microphone's still low. I can't hear.
Yeah, okay. I gotta turn you up a little bit.
You need to mark those once. You need to mark those once you figure out what is what.
What?
Those. Like, put little stickers like headset, microphone, because you do that all the time.
I know, but it's.
I know, but once you figure out what they are.
I have to figure out which one goes to which. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. It just takes. It takes me a little. Yes, I do. Okay. Mic check. Let me see. Check. Let's see. Check. No, that's mine. Check. I'm gonna put it in a different slot. Check. Let me try a different slot.
Last time that microphone wasn't working. We had to share a microphone.
Yeah, no.
Did you ever get a new one? Did you ever get a new one?
Check. Check is all right. I just moved it.
You sure it wasn't hearing out of yours?
Check. Okay, let me try. I have one spare one. Check, check. Is that a better one? Colin, is that better? Check, check. Colin? Check, check. Check, check.
I don't think these were working last time.
I use that one normally. Because I can turn it on and off. Check, check. This one doesn't work. Oh, that's why I didn't have it on. Check, check. Colin, does that work? Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Hey, Colin, you hear me? Colin, you hear me? Colin? Check, check.
Are those boxes empty right there?
I don't know what's in there.
I don't know if they're going to really hear me.
No.
It's okay. I didn't hear you. Didn't hear me.
Check, check. Is that better? Okay, got it. Gotcha. Okay. All right.
There's fire boxes there?
I think so. Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Who's that? Is that Al Martino? I'm guessing. Connie Conway, that's old. Now, I knew the first one. Dean Martin. Everybody loves. Oh, I love Dean. I grew up watching Dean. I still love him.
Drunk on TV.
That was apple juice. That was apple
Pretty
juice.
strong apple juice.
Anyway, St. Joseph's Day. That's a little St. Joseph's Day. That's coming up. That's our, like Aunt Marie does her. I think she'll be St. Joseph's.
I've never been to a St. Joseph's Day.
At St. Anselm. Yeah, they're always the Sicilians always eat a lot because they lived through a famine. And
do they eat the food that they put on the altar?
Some of it. It's a lot of it's for show, but I think it's eventually eaten. See, they had the Great Famine in Sicily, and if you ever been to a Sicilian party, they normally eat like there's a famine. You know, as far as the food's concerned, and so they prayed to Saint Joseph, and Saint Joseph did him a favor there, and did him a favor, gave him a dab or something, gave him got some food there, you know. So
is it non-perishable food that they put on the altar?
A lot of cookies, yeah.
Oh, it's cookies.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's tradition. It's tradition.
Yeah.
They're just thinking that.
No, I understand that. I just know what kind of food.
So I think the St. Joseph altars are the 18th, maybe. I'm not sure. 19th.
I don't know. I have everything in me but accounting. So.
Yes. But anyway, so happy Saint. You see, my name is Joseph.
Really?
Yes, you knew that. J. Douglas.
I know that.
But there was, as we always say, there were too many Josephs when I was born. Because if you're like in my dad's part, Sicilian, and so you're supposed to name the oldest after your dad. That's why we have so many Joes and Franks in our family. and the second goes after the grandfather.
The second son?
No. The first one's after the grandfather, which was a Joseph.
Your
And the
grandfather was
second,
Joseph?
of course, and his father was a Joseph.
Oh.
So you name the oldest after the grandfather and the second after the father. So that's why Dean was Frank Dean.
Oh, okay.
That's but it was sort of a deal there because there were so many Josephs in the family at the time. We needed to call me something distinguishable. So at the time they had Banana Joe Sunseri, Little Joe Sunseri. Now they had, I can say this now because he's gone, Pancake Face Joe Sunseri. We never said that to his face. And they had other Joe Sunseri, California Joe Sunseri, Little Joe Sunseri. So that's why they call me Joseph, but they call me Doug. Except when Papa used to say, Giuseppe, come over here. And I wouldn't acknowledge him. And my mom and dad say, Papa's talking to you. And Papa goes, Giuseppe, sweet kid, but he's stupid, don't even know his own name.
So sad.
And then we had Banana Joe. So, and
I'm assuming he had a large nose.
Yes, yes. So actually, I've told this story before. My grandmother had said, I saw Pancake Face Joe at a wedding. Because you always see the Italians at weddings and funerals. Sure. They love them. They live for them. Sure. They live for funerals.
Why?
It's just an Italian thing. Yeah. And so if, just always go to Italians' wedding, funerals, so they'll go to yours. But I saw, I'm going to get in so much trouble. I saw Pancake Face Joe at a wedding. And he looked bad. And I'm thinking in my little brain, this is the last time I'm going to see Pancake Joe. You just sort of have a little moment of reflection. And so then my grandmother, who was the purveyor of the obituaries, left a message on my machine. We didn't have, it was a answer machine. Sure. Joe Sunseri died. So I assumed it was Pancake Face. I shouldn't say that. The other Joe Sunseri. Gosh, I'm going to get in so much trouble. And so then I'm going to call him Little Joe. All right. And so I saw Little Joe's daughter and I gave condolences and she sort of looked at me sort of cross-eyed like, okay, well, that's very nice. But, she just wasn't as receptive as I thought she would.
And you thought maybe she.
And so then I saw Little Joe Sunseri walk past me. So I had no idea which Joe Sunseri was in the box. So I ran over. And then as soon as I got into the room, you could see Banana Joe's nose as this distinguishing feature sort of protruding out the box. And I knew it was Banana Joe. Yes, I am going to get in trouble. So anyway, that's why I'm sort of a St. Joseph's guy. But anyway, gotcha. How do we transition for that? Now we've been talking a lot about, Hurricane Ida. And if y'all want to call it 260-1870 or text us, we'll be glad to answer any questions. But you are like the, divorce guru for all things like
that. In fact, family law.
Family law. Family law. Custody and
estate.
And you've been doing it for
a long time.
That's how we'll leave it at that. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. And by the way, your mother's been married for a year and a half, or a year and 3 months, huh? She was married during.
Oh, that's right. It was a year.
No, it's 2 years. It's a year and a half. Because she was married the night of the LSU Kentucky game, Coach O's last game before he was officially notified he was going to be fired.
Really?
That was in October.
Yeah, that was in October.
Yes. All right. So I don't know. She's a year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half.
Is she with child?
No, not yet.
She's not with child.
No.
Okay. We just checked. But we do. Last personal thing. We're grandparents now.
We are. We have one.
And we got one on the way.
We have one on the way.
Yes. Congratulations, Katie. All right. Since COVID, it seems like, from your perspective, has divorce litigation got a little bit more contentious?
Yeah, we're litigating more things now. It seems like everything's being litigated more. Even successions, I don't know. I don't know if it's just people are frustrated or people are more angry. I haven't quite figured it out yet. But we are. There's lots of filings, lots of angry people.
Yes.
I don't really know. I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know. I couldn't.
Yeah, it would be, your observations would be anecdotal.
Yes.
Yes, it seems it
But
does.
there's always a pendulum. I've been able to watch it over over the years that I've practiced. Sometimes people are more apt to have alternative dispute resolutions. It seems like people are more apt these days to want to just litigate.
Yeah, yeah. It's a how can I say it? It seems like there's two facets to the brain. There's the emotional side and there's the cognitive side.
Right, and people are very much these days driven by their emotions, which doesn't always lead to a good decision. Um, but and a lot of times it's harder to handle those kind of cases because people have a tendency these days to make knee-jerk reactions. Where I feel like in the past people were able to I don't know, be able to sit and then make a decision, but I don't know if it has to do with how our society is now. Everybody wants an answer now. You know, everything's automatic, everything's immediate, and the legal system is just not immediate.
Right. Well, that's one thing we have to give a perspective on and get reset expectations.
Right, and that's what we're constantly doing. And we have no control over the court system. Our courts are packed. I can tell you, at least over here, we have two judges and they work as fast as they can, but it's really not enough.
When you say over here, you mean
in St. Tammany Parish.
In God's country, in St. Tammany Parish, yes.
Right.
And well, one of the things in St. Tammany Parish in Jefferson Parish, you have wonderful dispute resolution procedures in place,
right,
that mitigate the difficulty for that. But one of the things that is we tell people is you might have 10,000 open files. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't know.
But they might have 10,000 open family law files in St. Tammany Parish, or that are or that are probably over some sort of court supervision in some form or fashion. And then you have, 3, 4, 5 hearing officers in St. Tammany Parish?
We have 3.
3. And then you have 2 judges.
We have 2 judges, and we have a commissioner.
And you talk about, I always tell people it's like going from a highway that has 100 lanes to 1 or 2. Or is there going to be a traffic jam?
Yeah, and there always is a traffic jam.
Yeah. And so
the traffic jam starts really with the filing.
Yeah.
Because it takes a little while to get into court. So, you have the traffic jam of getting docketed, and then you have the traffic jam of once you get, then getting through the court system.
Gotcha. All right. I tell you what, we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and we'll take a caller on the other side. Let's take a break. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri, All Things Legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
Yeah, I can't hear the studio. I can't hear the music in the studio, and that's okay. I can just hear myself. But it's no big deal.
Yeah, because I can get you. I can get you here. Get on.
I can hear you, and I can hear me.
Okay, this is okay.
I can
get this because I turned it way down.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know anything about gambling charges.
No, I'll do that. Here, why don't you try it?
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's far away. It sounds like it's in a box.
Let's see.
Oh, okay.
Here, listen. Let me get you.
It sounds like it's just in a box. It's okay.
Call Rhino Shield Mid-South and never paint your home again. For your free no-obligation estimate, 504-407-2222. And if you're one of the first 10 callers right now, you'll save 10%. 504-407-2222.
Let me try that one.
407-2222.
Let me see if the other one's
RhinoShieldMidSouth.com.
I have another one. One's broken. I'm going to throw that one away.
But I was hearing music.
You're at a point where you feel like it's normal. Freely take
Michelle, are you getting feedback?
through both
No, I just don't have a headset that's working.
I have a spare.
They are there for a reason. If it's
Like
different,
I can't hear anything out of my headset.
Yeah, I got it. All right, we got one.
but nothing gives you lasting
Here, let me put this under here.
Just imagine the feeling put your breath through your nose. How? The new Vivere procedure.
You hear that?
Performed right
Yeah.
in the New Orleans Sinus Center with zero downtime. Can provide long-lasting relief and help you breathe easier. Find out if the non-invasive Vivere is right for you. Schedule an appointment today with New Orleans Sinus Center. Call 457-7911. 457-7911. That's 457-7911. Hey, this is Drew Brees. Starting a new business. The B1 Bank will make it uncomplicated. I know I can count on B1 Bank to understand my vision for my business and provide banking solutions for my needs. Start or grow your own business. B1 Bank can help establish a seamless plan for future growth. Learn more at b1bank.com/business.
Oh, mine's not hooked up. All right. Too loud?
Yeah.
Good.
That's better. That's better. That's better. That's better. Oh, you good. You got it. You got it.
Okay. Sure. All right. I think we got it. Yeah, I'll take them.
Not a thing.
No, I do. Half my neighborhood had it. Okay.
Why did they give him a fake name? That always concerns me.
Because he's got a question about his criminal
Oh,
past.
Ryan. I thought that guy.
Okay. Does that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Does it bother you?
I'm good. Thanks. This seems to be everybody these days.
I know. That's what I was talking about.
All things legal on WWW.com and the Odyssey app. Connect with Sunseri and Albert Nicaud on the Oakland Argument Talk and Text line 504-260-1870.
Hey, we're back. We're back with Frank Sinatra there.
I know it put you in such a great mood.
And then before that, we had Louis Prima, Angelina. Louis Prima is from
New Orleans.
New Orleans. I grew up like just loving him. And I think he got sick. I think he had he was in a coma for 2 years before he died.
Really?
Yeah, I think he.
Didn't we watch a special about him? About
Absolutely.
like his wife or his daughter or something?
Yeah, Keely Smith was his second wife.
Yeah.
In fact, he owned the property that the Walmart is on on 190. It used to be Pretty Acres Golf Course. That was the Louis Prima Pretty Acres Golf Course.
Oh, that's right.
So, gosh, he was good. He was the act in Las Vegas that the performers went and saw. Like, if you were Frank Sinatra, Dean, that was the act they enjoyed the most.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you how I learned who he was.
How?
Jungle Book with my
Jungle
kids.
Book, yes, Jungle Book, absolutely. And gosh, he was good. So, all right, let's go. We're going to transition from that's St. Joseph's Day, but let's go to phone lines. Let's go to Ryan's got a question regarding a gambling charge. Speaking of St. Joseph's Day, what you got for us, Ryan? Was that part of your plea deal, or the no contest 893, I believe 894? Was that part of your plea? Who took the assets? The state police took the assets. Did they take it for evidence, or did they take it as some type of? Yeah, I guess. Okay, for purposes of evidence. You see that there would be a distinction if you did if it was taken for evidence versus compensation or retribution, it would not. Now, if it was for evidence, how long ago was this? Uh, yeah. If it was for evidence, I think sitting in the evidence room, what parish is it? East Baton Rouge. I would ask your attorney if that could be returned right now. I mean, if it's generic, a generic item that's not, um, you can ask it if it was for, yeah, you could, yeah, because it's probably sitting in the evidence room right now. And I'm not.
Don't look at me. I don't do criminal.
Yeah, so I would check possibly. I mean, I'm not sure. I think it would be within the discretion of East Baton Rouge Parish. And yeah, that's interesting. All right, Ryan, thanks for the call. Who we got next, Colin?
Joseph.
Giuseppe. All right, Joseph, what you got for us? You on All Things Legal with Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know the process in Alabama, and I don't know. I'm assuming if it's the same, and her husband's been appointed executor, then his job is to find the assets before you can have them, the heirs placed in possession. I don't know the process in Alabama. Here, it would just depend on how long the executor or the executrix took to, I call it marshaling the assets, figure out what the assets are, and then file the requisite pleadings or, the appropriate papers to have everybody put in possession. But I would think that would be a question that you could ask the attorney who's handling the estate.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways you can deal with the succession. You could either sell all the assets, liquidate it, and just split up the money after liquidation. That would probably take a little longer because you
Right.
have to administer the estate. The other option would be they could put you in co-ownership with the other heirs, or if there's only one heir, they could just put you in ownership. That seems to take a little less time than administering the estate just generally.
You know, it depends. I mean, if she left a will, what the terms of the will were. Okay, so there's no will. Yeah. So I don't know what Alabama probate law is. I don't know, whether the husband, here in Louisiana, your spouse is not your heir except if you have no children and then you have community property. But I'm not quite sure about the, intestate laws of Alabama.
Joe, do you have siblings? Do you have brothers and sisters? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. In Louisiana, if you're selling everything, I've had them open, as long as a year if you're trying to sell like houses or land. And I've had them opened as short as 60 days.
Yeah.
It
Generally,
just depends.
Yeah, generally, if you have to liquidate the property and you're waiting on the sale of a house or sale of a succession asset, it generally gets closed after you sell it off. Maybe 60 to 90 days after you sell the property off, that they do in a final accounting. Now, if you're going to just be placed in possession and co-ownership with the other heirs, that wouldn't take quite as long because all you have to do is identify the assets. And once they're identified, then you file a petition with the court or a judgment asking the court to recognize that the property is transferred from the decedent's estate in co-ownership with the heirs. And that doesn't take quite as long. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it depends on the complexity of the will. If it's just a simple will, they're a couple $100.
Right. It just depends on what you need in it. If you need some trusts in it, that's different. They're longer. They're more complicated. If it's just a simple will.
It's like those old Fram oil filter commercials where the mechanic says you can pay me now or pay me later.
Right.
It's a lot cheaper if you get a will. It proceeds through the estate probate proceeding a lot quicker than if you don't. It's a lot more defined to it. You could have independent administration. It's a lot more efficient if you do that for when you're gone. All right, Joseph, thanks for the call. We got to go to our break. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri, All Things Legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
WWL is proudly sponsored by
Do you not like the answer you gave Melissa?
He calls every week. We're probably only going to have a minute or two, huh?
I'm gonna move some spots around.
That's
Not too much to like go into anything, but
no. I mean, you can just give us like 30 seconds and we'll go in and out.
I'll give you time. I will.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need long. I mean, I just need to get in and out and then we'll.
Why do you think he keeps going?
Huh?
Why do you think he keeps going?
He's just here on his show. He's different name every week. Yeah. He calls every week. He's a contractor.
Yeah, he's really not calling about this.
Huh?
He's really not calling about
Yeah, his mom died.
Oh.
He calls.
I'll make it up to you once I get you.
You an existing customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with Samstown Shreveport Casino. Everybody has a story. A dream. We don't always know where it'll take us.
Did you like that book you started reading last night?
Yeah, I did.
Because those two up there are good. So
Yeah. You know why I like them? Because I can relate to them. Like it's about a solo practitioner.
I don't know. Those boxes I think belong to Cheryl.
I'm thinking.
We didn't have boxes in here.
They might. I think they are.
No, maybe she didn't see them.
Just bring them over. Let's see. Okay.
What's up, everybody? Guess who's coming to your screens every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? No Mercy. Everything beyond the world of sports, unfiltered, and now in video. Join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the very least for my take on the biggest headlines and conversations with the biggest names in entertainment. Subscribe now so you don't miss an
I wonder if they're going to change the time. We're talking about it again. I guess they talk about it every year.
Keep it on. Keep it.
Mm-hmm. I guess this would be the normal time.
Yeah, would be 8 o'clock right now. Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri, All Things Legal. That's the Jersey Boys.
Oh yeah.
Frankie Valli, yes. You know who was his do boy?
His what?
Do boy.
What's a do boy?
It's like a guy who ran around and got him his drinks and cigarettes.
No,
it was the guy in the lawyer movie about the funny one about the Alabama.
Danny DeVito?
Yeah.
That was his do boy?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, that was his. He was like the little kid who would get him drinks and cigarettes and take care of him. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's how they know each other. And
That's funny.
yeah, and I think the guitar player became it's Robert De Niro's friend.
Robert De Niro's.
And the Goodfellas. Oh, we went up. No, I'm sorry. We lost. We lost.
Who's Goodfellas? I don't never saw Goodfellas.
Who was the guy in that movie about the Alabama lawyer?
Oh, the tall guy, Fred Munster?
Yeah. Well, who's the little guy?
Danny DeVito.
Not Danny DeVito. Joe Pesci.
Oh, Joe Pesci.
He didn't have the music on, so that's why I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I think people are still sleeping.
Oh no.
Kelly gave me this book.
We'll take your pee-pee. You want your wife drinking?
No.
The Sunshine Protection Act was approved by a unanimous vote in the Senate last year, but hasn't even gotten a tiger eye look by the House. The bill would range daylight saving time permanent. Studies have shown that the extra hour of sunlight leads to reduced crime levels, a decrease in seasonal depression, and allows the kids to play outside longer. CBS's Stacey Rose says the sponsor of the bill.
No.
The Oscar fans here on site of Golden Theater have their favorites. Blanchett's given a good chance to win Best Actress for her role in Tar. Angela Bassett's given a good chance to win Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah, she has to win. That's our girl.
The film getting the best chance to win the top prize, Best Picture, continues to be Everything Everywhere All at Once.
This is CBS News.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
How much longer do we have? We'll go back.
We got about 5 minutes, 4 minutes.
Good pace.
Yeah.
WWL First News. I'm Tom Perulian on your official weather station, WWL.
Well, today will be a pleasant day across southeast Louisiana. We'll see our temperatures climbing to the lower 80s this afternoon, a light wind, and no rain in the forecast. But we are looking at the future degrees of climb as we go through the hours.
Local weather expert, WWL meteorologist Michelle Morgan. A high-speed chase ends in a crash in Metairie. WWL Sam Lindstrom reports.
It all started outside the Clearview Mall, where state police were investigating a completely unrelated crash. That's when a woman jumped into a state police trooper's vehicle and took it down Veterans, leading police on a chase that ended with a crash here on Veterans Boulevard just before I-10. Now, police tell us that no one was injured in the crash and that the suspect has been taken into police custody, but they couldn't tell us any information about the suspect or what charges they'll face. That information should be released on Sunday.
Here's a reminder, early voting is underway. WWL News with Miller fills us in.
Polls are open daily until next Saturday, 8:30 a.m. until 6 o'clock. You can cast your ballot. You can go to your voter registrar's office. Voters in District 93 will decide their candidate for State House. It's between Sybil Fox Richardson and Alonzo Knott. That district includes parts of Uptown, the French Quarter, St. Roch, and 7th Ward. Election day is Saturday, March 25th.
And the parades roll on. The Metairie Road St. Patrick's Parade is today at noon. And on the North Shore,
The North County Lighthouse St. Patrick's Day Parade is set for Sunday afternoon. The parade has been held just about every year, going back to 1974. Bring your shopping bags for all the produce, lighters, and throwing. The parade starts at 1 in the afternoon on Sunday.
WWL is also across the lake all weekend. It's the Sicilian Heritage Festival in Independence. Here's Charlie Long with WWL Sports.
The Saints new quarterback at WWL, that one of the main recruiters on the team was star wide receiver Michael Thomas, who he said made his decision to play for the Black and Gold easy.
Talking to Mike, you just felt the competitiveness. I just fell in love with it when I was talking to him. I really did. I told my wife, I talked to him all night, and she's just so believed with your abilities and what you think you like to do together. She's ultra competitive and very physical, dominant, at the point of attack. Always admired what he's been able to do here in the system. And so for me, hopefully, getting to throw him the passes and all that kind of stuff, those are no brainers.
The Saints locked up one of the Cards' weapons for the next few years. They committed to Juwan Johnson for 2 years yesterday as well. And their number one LSU Tigers will go for the sweep of Stanford. They'll lead the finale at 11 a.m. The purple and gold
LSU plays this afternoon.
Yeah. If we got no calls, I was going to issue this.
What?
I was going to issue this. Hey, we're back for hour number 2. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers, Sunseri, all things legal. Give us a call, 260-1870, or text us at the Oakland Heart Talk and Text line at 260-1870. We'll check that in a second. Okay, when we were finishing the last hour, we ran long and we were cut off. But the bumper music was Frankie Valli, the Four Seasons. And I wasn't able to finish my thought, but Joe Pesci was his, like,
Frankie Valli's
was
do-boy.
Do-boy, where, go hey kid, give me some cigarettes,
Is that what they called him, the do-boy?
That's sort of, they had another name for him. And if you didn't get the right cigarette, you get whacked or something, And
Nice.
in honor of St. Joseph's Day.
Yeah.
But then they had the guitar player in the Four Seasons who fell into hard times, so he became Joe Pesci's driver until he died.
Really?
Yes.
And who was that?
I forgot his name, but they had 4 members. They had the guy who played the keyboards, who wrote a lot of the songs, and they had a bass player and a guitar player. And the guitar player had some personal issues, got in some trouble, and then Joe Pesci took him as his own personal driver.
Yeah, the only way I knew about him was from Grease. Frankie Valli.
He was in Grease.
The songs he sang.
Was that Frankie Avalon or Frankie Valli?
Maybe it was Frankie Valli. Maybe it was Frankie Avalon. Maybe I don't even know who Frankie Valli is.
Yeah, he sings Jersey Boys. We saw the play.
But that wasn't the same guy?
Yeah, it's the same guy. Well, I mean, that was the play about. That was what the play was about. Yes. All right. I know they want to talk. Tired of us talking about that, or tired of me. One of the things we were talking about before we went, callers, is you were talking about divorce, and since you're here in family law, wanted to talk about, in the last 3 years, there's trends, and it seems like a lot of these family law issues have become more contentious lately. One of the things, and they had an article that I just pulled, it said there's 3 events that could really make a divorce more contentious. Mm-hmm. One is, now I was going to get your comments on it. One is if the spouse is hiding assets. How does that make it difficult?
Well, it makes it really difficult because then if you don't know what the assets are, it's hard to divide them. And you have one spouse who's, is angry because they're feeling like they're not getting their half. Or if you have the spouse who's trying to not divulge assets, then you're trying to manage, you're trying to walk that spouse through it while, not condemning them, explaining to them that you have to disclose everything. Because if you find assets later, you still have to, and the other spouse can prove it, they can partition it, and it just makes it messy. Right?
So, okay, let me give you a hypothetical. That husband and wife divide up their property, and then and husband is found out later that husband had an asset, a $300,000 account that wasn't previously disclosed.
Right.
How would that be dealt with in that particular situation?
Well, the spouse who finds it, their remedy is to file a petition or to ask the court to partition or divide that asset that wasn't divided before. The spouse who's answering it would probably allege that some language in the judgment from when they divided the original stuff basically said that any and all other assets, determined in that spouse's name is theirs. And so you probably have a big legal argument, on both sides. Mm-hmm. I think the spouse who can prove that it was intentionally not disclosed is going to win. But, again, it's going to cost more money, more time. And, litigation is not just costly from a financial aspect, but it's costly from a stress standpoint, too. Mm-hmm. And I always think that has to be taken into account.
All right. Now, if the perpetrating event causing the divorce was an affair, how does that complicate, um, a divorce in managing a client?
Just really their anger. It really, some people think if their spouse has committed adultery, then they get more. But dividing your assets has nothing to do with anybody's actions.
Yeah.
So the reason for the divorce has nothing to do with the division of the property.
Well, actually, in Louisiana, there's only limited circumstances that divorce actually becomes a relevant issue legally, because we're basically a no fault.
We're a no fault state.
Right. Now, if you're seeking permanence, there's two types of spousal support.
Correct. There's interim, and then there's final.
Right.
And final spousal support is the support. Some people use the word alimony. The support that's given begins 6 months after judgment of divorce,
Right.
and it can go, up until a couple of years.
And that's less common now because a lot of households are two-income households, and if you have a vocation or career, in most cases you wouldn't be eligible for final
Correct.
spousal support.
Yeah.
So it's
And it just depends on what jurisdiction you're in. Some parishes or courts are more apt to give it than others.
right. So the only, I guess, legal consequence, we're not talking about the emotional or other consequence, but the primary legal consequence of a adultery is maybe if you are seeking permanent spousal support and you're determined to have, as an adultery is the marriage ending based on fault due to adultery, then you would not be able to seek final spousal support, right?
Correct. If you were the one that had the affair.
Right. And then also in certain circumstances, you might be able to get maybe a slightly quicker divorce for adultery than you would maybe waiting a year.
Yes, you can get a quicker You can get a quicker divorce based upon adultery, but a lot of times it's not in that party's interest, because the quicker you get a divorce, the quicker your interim spousal support ends.
Yeah. So a lot of times when a client would come in and say, "Hey, I want to get a divorce, but I suspect my spouse is having an affair," depending on most circumstances, it really doesn't have a lot of legal significance as far as how the divorce is unwound.
No, it doesn't.
But so you'd say, well, if you want to get a private investigator, it's for your own personal edification, but it doesn't really have a lot of legal significance.
The only time that it would really be advantageous is if you were the main breadwinner, you came in and said, I think my spouse is having an affair. So you would be the one to be paying support. You could then get a quicker divorce to cut off the time that you were paying support. That would really just be it.
And those are fewer and far between.
They are.
So again, and that's what I think one of the aspects of community property in Louisiana that you have to explain is the fact your community property settlement is really not tied to behavior.
It's not. And it's not even really tied to your divorce. In some states, you can't get divorced until you have divided your property or partitioned your property. That's not the case in Louisiana. You can get a divorce, not even have litigated or brought up your partition, and you can get it to partition later.
And also, too, I think a lot of people get confused. What is community property and how does that work in the context of a marriage?
Well, community property is essentially, I tell people, from the time you say I do to the time somebody files a petition for divorce or somebody dies, all assets and all debt are individually or each owned a half by one another.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's a presumption that everything that the couple has is community. And it's a rebuttable presumption, but it is the presumption.
Mm-hmm.
And if you move, and even, some people say, well, I didn't sign up to have community property. We got married in Mississippi, or we got married in Minnesota. And you're presumed to know the law, but if you move here, you have 1 year to do a post-nup as a non-resident or to get out of community.
Okay, and what is a post-nup?
A post-nup is a marital agreement done after the marriage to change your marital regime. Okay. And you can only do that one or two ways. If you come into Louisiana and you're moving here, you have 1 year to do it without court approval. If you've been here, if you're a resident of, and you are in community property and you want to change it, then you have to get court permission. Both parties have to joint petition the court to ask for the regime to change.
Okay. Now I'm going to throw a little curveball at you. Are you ready? This is for the Gen Zs. All right. So a lot of the Gen Zs, like they move in together, they live together, and then they buy property, a house together, but they're not married.
Right.
How is that different from community property?
Well, they're just co-owners. They're no different than two business owners owning pieces of property together.
Mm-hmm.
And different laws apply as to how you would divide it, and different laws apply as to any reimbursements they might seek against one another.
So basically, if you're not married and you co-own property together, then they would have a different set of laws that would apply for co-ownership as opposed to community property.
Correct.
And it would be unwound in a different way.
Correct.
Okay. Now, you see, this is, if they had a law student listening to this, you're getting a whole course in community property in 1 hour.
Without any cites to law, but yeah.
Yes. Well,
I could, but yeah.
Okay. Now, if you want to get married, but you want to live in something besides a community property, how do you deal with that?
You would do, I guess some people know them as a prenup, but you would do a marital agreement that you enter into before you're married. And you can either opt out of community property laws altogether, or you can do a hybrid if you want.
Okay.
But you have to sign it. It has to be by authentic act, and which means a notary and two witnesses.
Uh-huh.
And it has to be signed before the wedding. You can also do it by acknowledgement, but that just gets complicated. So
Okay.
better do by authentic act.
All right. Now, okay, I'm gonna ask you some more questions. You can bill me.
Okay.
You can bill me. But here's another question I have for you. We get some calls where you got husband and wife, they're married, and then one of the spouses get an inheritance, and they're concerned as to whether the inheritance is community or separate property, and then they're concerned as to if they invest the inheritance, whether the interest is community or separate property. Could you explain that scenario?
Sure. So there are certain properties that we get, like we can get while we're married: inheritance, personal injury monies for pain and suffering, gifts that are separate, and that the principle or the corpus of it will always be your separate. But any civil fruits that flow from it can be community if you've not reserved them to yourself.
Okay. And what are civil fruits?
Civil fruits, I always explain it. If I come into the marriage with an apple tree, the apple tree is always mine. But if the tree produces fruit, those apples belong to the community. The tree grows taller, the increase in the tree is still mine. But the tree grows taller and it produces more apples, all of those apples belong to the community.
Now, so basically, if a spouse inherits $400,000 and then they invest the $400,000 in a stock or a financial vehicle that derives 5% interest, which would be, I went to De La Salle, so that would be $20,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
That $20,000
would be community,
but the $400,000 would remain separate.
Correct.
And you wouldn't have to file any type of documents to maintain the principal as staying separate.
That's according to law. If you wanted to keep those interests to yourself, you could file what's called a declaration of parapherналity, which means you're declaring that your paraphernal estate is going to remain yours, meaning the apples will always remain yours.
All right, paraphernal.
That means just the property itself, everything that derives from the property.
Could you see Buddy Diliberto doing this in there? Paraphernal, what is that? Paraphernal, I've never heard of that before. A lot of people now, like Cullen wouldn't know my Buddy D reference.
No, he wouldn't.
He would have been 6 years old when Buddy D passed.
Yeah, the kids don't know that either.
I know they don't listen to us.
No.
Huh? They're like
Colin has to, because that's how he gets.
Colin has to, and that's right. He is the correspondent. He's a class of one. Gen Z's listening to our show. But all right, well, let's go to break. I got some more questions for you.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep hitting you with questions,
Okay.
and then you keeping your bill.
I am.
All right. Well, then we do that. You know, Scoot.
I do.
Every time I'm on the show, his show, he wants to know.
No.
No, I'm not going there.
You're not going there.
Oh, I'm not going there. Okay,
No.
I won't go there.
No.
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 Okay, I've been cut off. All right.
It's just fine.
It's just fine. Okay, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out. I'm going to keep hitting you with these. Let's see.
He's talking to you.
Oh, yeah, Colin? No, who was that? That now you going deep. There you go. They had the Did you play this one? Frank Sinatra, Love and Marriage. Love and Marriage is a good, good when you're talking about divorce. Love and Marriage.
Hey, you know what?
Huh?
Isabel got engaged.
Who? Really?
She acted like it was a surprise, but we all know it wasn't a surprise.
I see.
We all know it's not a surprise because we knew it was happening because she was engaged.
I might call Mary to see how she's doing. All right. Good deal. Let's see if Amy's probably gonna react to that.
Every time you come up to your home, you notice it. Your neighbors probably notice it too. Your paint is chipping, peeling. Hey, you gonna paint your home yourself? I don't think
Does she have an Instagram? We should call herself an Instagram.
Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary permanent ceramic coating that comes with a 25-year warranty. Bottom line, Rhino Shield. You'll never have to paint your home again. Guaranteed. It's perfect for wood, brick, stucco, on like vinyl, it won't mold or mildew. Rhino Shield. It's more affordable than you think. Call Rhino Shield Mid-South and never paint your home again. For your free no-obligation estimate, call 504-407-2222.
Who's her last name? Like Golden something?
That's 504-407-2222. Or go to rhinoshieldmidsouth.com. That's rhinoshieldmidsouth.com. Are you a business owner doing your own business? Why? It makes no sense. Literally. Focus on what you do well. That's doing your business. And when Accounting Services Unlimited handles your business. Hi, this is Thomas Barker. Accounting Services Unlimited is your family reporting and
What's Amy's Instagram?
I don't know. I'm not on her Instagram. May? Something May Day, maybe? I don't know.
Now, for all things legal, are you ready to details? All the parts given in Sunseri. Back to WL.
Hey, we're back. Back Sunseri. Michelle Demers, Sunseri, all things legal. That's Frank again. Love and marriage. Oh, I love Frank Sinatra. Great way to clear out the room when you have kids. Put on Frank Sinatra. They leave. WWL is your home for LSU baseball. Catch Game 3 in the Tiger Series versus Sanford Bulldogs. They're starting early today due to rain, possible rain in the afternoon. There's pregame at 10:30, first pitch at 11. Catch all the exciting purple and gold baseball action for your home for LSU baseball. WWLAMFM.com and stream the games live on your Odyssey app. And so, go Tigers. Oh, man, the question today, is Sanford going to get past 7 innings?
It would be nice for them.
Yeah. We're sort of Sanford fans.
We are.
We had a kid go there. All right, and we were talking about, I was asking questions about community property. And I have some more questions for you on community property, which people ask if they get divorced, how is this dealt with? You have spouse had a 401k, was married for 10 years, contributed to the 401k, and then they get divorced. How do they deal with dividing up that particular 401k? Because there's contributions before the marriage and contributions after.
Right. So it's an asset that has a combination of separate property and community property classifications or characteristics. So what we do is we hire a forensic expert or an expert who figures out what the marital portion is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based upon the Sims formula, which is a Louisiana Supreme Court case. And they can figure out what portion belongs to the marriage, and then each party gets a half.
Gotcha.
That's the simplest way. And then what happens is it through a qualified domestic relations order or quadro, the non-participating or the spouse who did not contribute or wasn't the employee, their half gets rolled into a retirement account for them, and the participating spouse then has the remainder of that account.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I would guess that Mr. Sims either worked for an oil company or Entergy.
Probably.
Because in a lot of, when we'll go into this later, it seems like we're having more and more boomer divorces too.
We are.
And we'll talk about that later. But if somebody's been married 25 or 30 years, and they worked for Entergy, or they worked, for Exxon, or they worked along the river for one of the plants, the biggest asset in their estate is the 401k.
Right.
And because I think a lot of, with a lot of states, they may, if you started contributing to a 401k back in the 70s and 80s, and even the 80s and 90s, and you hear it today, it's probably multiplied exponentially, and it's the most prominent asset. Now, you're also saying that the non-participating spouse, where does their money go?
It gets rolled over into a retirement account of their own.
Okay, so they would either create, if they didn't have one, they would create a retirement.
We would create it.
And if they have one before, they could possibly roll into that.
Yes.
Under certain circumstances.
Assuming whatever one they already had you can combine those funds.
Okay, now here's another question, which is sort of along the same lines. Pensions. Now, we don't have as many defined pensions now as they used to have.
No, we don't. But we do have some.
Yeah, I mean, you used to work for Bells or some of the
Entergy companies.
Entergies, yeah. How do now, or if you're with the state, with the like a teacher with the state pension, with
TRSL.
Yes,
TRSL.
Yes. How does that work, and how do they figure that out?
You're still doing it by Sims formula. You're still doing it by the number of years totally worked, by the number of years in the marriage, and you get a percentage.
Okay. All right. And one other question before we go to that on the line: personal injury lawsuits.
Those are your separate property. Assume the pain and suffering. But if you get like lost wages, or if you if part of your award is is medicals that that the couple might have paid for and you get reimbursed, then those are community. But,
Okay. Well, now that gets sticky because, like, if most cases don't go to trial,
right.
and a lot of the damages aren't assessed. Like, if you went to a trial, which maybe 0.1% of personal injury suits go to trial, is you'd have categories of damages. You'd have one category for pain and suffering. You'd have one category for medical bills, one category for past lost wages and future lost wages. That makes it easy.
Sure.
How do you deal with a lawsuit that's just settled and it's not characterized pain and suffering, lost wages? You just get an amount of money.
That's when it gets a little tricky. The last one I had, we looked at the petition for the petition for damages, and there was a lost wage claim made, but no lost wage claim documents were submitted into the settlement offer.
Mm-hmm.
And so our argument was that even though the claim was made, that wasn't part of the settlement.
Okay. Now, also, it's just talking about dealing with resolutions, community property issues, custody issues in the context of a divorce proceeding. What are the complications if one party is what is now, I think, sort of being used a lot, a narcissist? And I mean, when we say narcissist, let's sort of define it I'll define it in Bucktown terms. Is a person who can't see past his nose. Is that, and everything's about them.
Right, or can't take responsibility for
it's always everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a few of the characteristics, pedestrian characteristics of a narcissist. What difficulties does it have in trying to resolve litigation when you have one person who just has a mindset that they can't see past their nose, don't take responsibility? It's everybody else's fault. They did nothing wrong. They have no responsibility for this.
Well, these days I feel like everybody's calling everybody a narcissist.
Right.
So I'm just a lawyer, so I can't.
Or they have some of those characteristics. Is probably a little bit more.
For me, it depends on their attorney. If their attorney cannot rein them in or control them, or they don't listen to their attorney and they're running the attorney, it can make a case a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
But if their attorney can handle them and get them to see the benefits for them to come to the table, then it's an easier case. And if a quote unquote so-called narcissist is representing themselves, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. I'll tell you I had a very fact scenario. I won't give all the facts, but we had a case where it wasn't a very big estate, but it had enough where you were fighting over. But the husband, I was representing the wife, the husband was so upset about how the marriage was unwound. It was just bad behavior on the wife, and the type of behavior just got under the skin of the husband.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting, and you were talking about mindset and other attorneys, and everything we did, he fought. Like things that were just routine matters and that, are just routine. If you fight over them, it costs a lot more money. Sure, because it's our time that is built.
Right.
So you could either do things in a very efficient way, or if you fight over what I call brush fires that don't mean anything, it makes it a lot more expensive. So he was lighting all these brush fires because he was so mad about how what led up to the divorce.
So he's one of those people who's an emotional
thinker,
reactionary thinker.
And right. And so even if it was in his own financial best interest to resolve certain issues, he would not do that because he was so mad about what had happened. And so we had several unnecessary court hearings because it was against his own financial
Sure,
interest
I understand that.
to do certain things. And so I had to get him in a different mindset. And his attorney was very upset with him also. And I said, can I have a word with the three of us? And so I was being very facetious, but I did change his mindset. I said, I want to thank you personally because all this unnecessary litigation is unjustly enriching our law firm and unjustly enriching us because we're making a lot of money that should be going to you and your kids. It's going to me because you continue to fight over issues that are in your financial interest to resolve. And so I said, when you look at me and every time you fight over an issue because you're upset about things, just know that we're paying off our house quicker, we're paying our kids' education, and we're going to take longer vacations because of the decisions you're making.
What did he say?
We settled about 3 hours later, but it was a way to try to change the mindset.
Yeah, you'd have to do a paradigm shift.
Right, as to what you're doing is actually harming yourself by fighting these issues. But when we took it out of that and saying you were help, he perceived to be. I mean, and I was, it was sort of trying to get into his head and figure out how he can see things differently. That was the paradigm shift he needed. But that was, when someone who is in that mindset, who doesn't see the business side of this, because businessmen, when they resolve disputes, it has to do with risk reward, the cost of further litigation versus the benefit.
Yeah, they're not thinking about emotional issues.
Right, because you were an economics major at LSU,
Mm-hmm.
class of 86.
86.
Mm-hmm. There you go. They had something called marginal utility analysis. Remember that?
Okay. What's
the cost of doing something and what's the benefit?
Right.
And every litigation is about a marginal utility analysis. And so, that was just an interesting mindset. But we're talking about the mindset of, quote, narcissist, you're right, is thrown around to anyone who, they perceive as somewhat selfish.
Right.
But it may be someone who just doesn't see things and they're willing to go against their own economic interests in order to make a point and make it more difficult for everyone else. Sort of like a kamikaze.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I think people making emotional decisions and rash decisions, I think it's part of what society says you do these days.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. Your feelings, gotta get in touch with your feelings.
Yeah, and so but it has a negative impact when you are litigating.
Absolutely.
Or just doing business.
Business
decisions shouldn't be made over emotion.
Absolutely. All right. Well, a lot of people make their political decisions now based on emotions rather than using their brain.
Right.
So, all right, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri, All Things Legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
Speaking about narcissists, you got to get rid of that client. When Maddie got sworn into the Supreme Court, didn't she get her certificate then?
Yeah, we gave it to her, I think, huh? Oh no, we have it, huh?
Wasn't it smaller? Didn't we? Don't you remember?
No, I don't know. Did she get it or they're going to mail it? I forgot.
I thought she got it. I thought it came in a tube, but I thought I remember being it smaller. Remember ours are so big.
Right.
I don't know. I was talking to her the other day because she wanted to get it framed. What's the impact on children?
That's like statistics.
Cost of divorce?
Divorce rate.
What's the cost of divorce? Where's the 23 coming from?
Average cost for child custody without divorce.
60% rate of divorce for your second marriages.
Yeah.
Where's the other part of it?
It's cut off, but it cuts off here.
Oh,
This is actually
for me, it's just 270.
$270 an hour. Yeah.
Divorce rate dropped at the time of COVID.
Courts were closed, I think.
Where does it say? Yeah.
That makes no sense. The solution? Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary permanent ceramic coating that comes with a 20-button warranty. Bottom line, Rhino Shield. You'll never have to fix your home again. Guaranteed. It's perfect for wood, brick, stucco, vinyl, and steel. And unlike vinyl, it won't mold or mildew. Rhino Shield. It's your home. Call Rhino Shield now and never paint your home again.
Oh, look at the little doggy.
Mm-hmm.
That's 504-407-2222. Or go to rhinoshieldsouth.com. That's rhinoshieldsouth.com. The Hurricane Island Insurance Company will be public adjusters affecting people who are going nowhere. Unfortunately, public adjusters do not have any enforcement power to hold your insurance company accountable in a court of law. Many insurance companies will not deal with your Hurricane Island insurance claim until a lawsuit is filed in court.
His name is not Frito.
Fredo.
His name is
Enzo. I'm still not used to it. I called Isabel Caroline for a long time before.
Not if you use Omega accounting solutions. See, Omega has been around for more than 15 years. They are an established broker with extensive experience handling tax credits and has built a fiduciary relationship with you and your business.
Well, I'm sure it takes forever to find out it's qualified, though, right?
Again, no. If you call 800-704-2000, you can find out in under 10 minutes.
I make a call that takes less than 10 minutes. I have to find out if my company is eligible for a tax credit of up to $26,000 per employee.
Yes, based on how your small business was impacted by government mandates or lost revenue during the COVID crisis.
Call Omega Accounting at 800-704-2000. Only 10 minutes. Find out if your company qualifies for an employee retention credit of up to $26,000 per employee. Call 800-704-2000. That's 800-704-2000. That talks with that part. There's nothing like know about the band, who you work, who you, how to start a band and that, and really do this. It's the Kick Rocks Wrestling Podcast with Evan T. Mack. Subscribe now on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri. Michelle Demers Sunseri. All things legal. All right, Colin, you dialed that one up. Who's that? Frankie Beverly? Oh, that's Harry in the Blue Notes. Teddy Pendergrass. All right. God, you know, he's like knows old school for 23 years old and being a Gen Z.
Does he really know it, or is he just? I mean, is
He-
he just researching it?
Yeah, he comes from radio, but you have to know it to find it.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's doing a
So,
good
yeah,
job.
oh man, he's awesome. Since high school. like old school. Yeah.
You love doo-wop.
Oh, I love doo-wop. Yeah. Yeah. I was born about 30 years too late when it came to musical taste.
You are.
Like this. Um, you know, on the other side, we're on till 10:30.
Right.
So we're going to talk about statistics for divorce.
Okay.
But we got a few minutes before we go to the break, to the news break. Mediation. That's really very, very productive.
It is very productive.
Even if you don't settle on a mediation, it's very productive in the sense that you narrow the issues a lot of times.
Yeah, you can settle some of them and not all of them.
Yeah. And, one thing about mediation is different in family law, which I learned because we did one together.
Right.
Is in a personal injury lawsuit, it's about a number. Or if you go a hurricane case, it's just about what number you land on.
Right.
But for mediation in family law, it's like, it used to be like the old Ed Sullivan show where you watch the guy spinning 10 plates at the same time. Because you have, you might agree on custody issues, but you don't agree on community property issues. You have a wide variance of issues that you have to resolve in order to tie it up in a bow.
Yeah, but typically we're not doing custody and community property.
Right.
But just, custody is like spinning plates because you get them to agree on one area and then something hits a nerve in another area and then that one's off the table. It's almost like you have to just chip away at it and get agreements. And sometimes when I'm mediating, if I can just get them to agree to what day of the week it is, we're good.
Because, my experience in mediation on the family law side was getting the clients off the issues that didn't matter. In other words, the issues that, hey, I know it is hurtful to you. I know it's, it is a real distress to you, but that distress has nothing to do with the resolution.
Yeah.
In the sense of,
No, you're right, it doesn't. But you have to sometimes walk them through that because, again, and it depends on their age and it depends on their, I call it emotional IQ. It depends on whether they're able to put that in a box and move forward from a place of being rational or whether they are just stuck there. And being stuck there usually means there's something about fear.
Right. And also offense and not letting go of the offense. All right, Colin, let's take a break right now so we'll have a little time on the other end for our last break. This is Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri. All things legal. We'll be right back in about 3 minutes. I like that song. They used to play that song at Pontchartrain Beach.
Yeah.
What was the name? That was
Oh gosh. I'm hoping.
Oh, that's okay. Gotcha. You go to Tulane? Did you? Are you from New Orleans? Where'd you go to high school? Uh-huh. Oh, really? Military? Yeah. Did he go to he taught at University of Pitt? He taught at Pitt? Oh, okay. So he that's why you went to Tulane. You had Tulane tuition. Yeah. All right. My grandfather's from Pittsburgh. I said, no. Yeah, no, my grandfather's from Pittsburgh. Yeah,
What do you say?
they hated the Saints.
Uh,
They hated LSU. Yeah.
oh Lord.
You're very brave. Yes. Well, there's two coaches at Alabama. The last name's Sunseri. No. They're from Pittsburgh. He played for the University of Pitt, and then well, it was a father and son, and the father left just last year to go on Deion Sanders' staff, and the other one's still coaching, Vinny Sunseri. He used to play for the Saints. He was one and done with the Saints, but they were all from Pittsburgh. Okay, and you'll put on the music to get out the show. Okay, breakaway. Okay. Hey, we're back. We're back to Marvin Gaye. I knew that one. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri, all things legal. Man, Collins, he does the best music. So I told him this week. I said, doo-wop, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, he's done a great job.
Yeah, he's awesome. Michelle, if anybody wants to call you on the North Shore, what is your?
Sure, it's 985-624-9697.
God Country. We're right at the foot of the causeway.
That's right. My office overlooks the toll booth.
And the tennis courts.
Well, they're not tennis courts anymore. They are pickleball courts.
Speaking of love and marriage,
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of boomers who are single. It is now one of the number one venues that singles meet?
I'm assuming you're going to say the pickleball court.
Pickleball court.
I'm telling you, that place is packed at one point, we couldn't even get in our parking lot.
Because, my North Shore office, you look out on the tennis court.
Right.
And it was most of the time, it was just nobody playing tennis. Now they have, it's 4 courts, but they might have,
I think they have 6 or 8.
6, 8.
And they're probably 15 to 20, 25 people out there, at all times.
Yeah, they're like the new eHarmony of sort of meeting.
Yeah. Well, somebody's doing lessons down there because it's always the same 2 people, and then there's, it's crazy. I don't understand the game.
It's ping pong. It's like tennis ping pong.
Yeah, it's on a shorter court. It's a weird little racket. Yeah, I don't know, but some people say it's fun. I mean, people say it's fun. I haven't played.
Yeah, I think my age. I'll say my age. 60. Tennis gets it's my age is not yours. Mine.
Right.
Is it's a little tougher on your knees. Tennis. I mean, you play, but when you play, your mind's saying one thing, but your body's doing something totally different.
Right.
So, and we're on the South Shore. We're at 504-837-1304, 504-837-1304. We're going to be on for an extra half an hour today. We're going to lead into the LSU Sanford baseball game. First pitch is at 10:30. Pregame 10:30, first pitch at 11. They're trying to get the game in before the cold front comes in. At the pace that LSU's playing, they only need an hour and a half to play because they'll probably have a. I didn't hear it.
It's been going on.
I can't hear it in my earphone. I missed it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? It was my earphone didn't pick it up. Okay. That's all right. Yeah. I didn't.
I could hear it. They were talking about the news was on.
Yeah. I didn't make. Look, I got this crap equipment. I've been asking them to get it. I got headphones that they probably used in the. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Because I got these headphones. I think they used for the. They probably used it when they had the Kennedy assassination. They were probably using it. Yes, yeah, that's what normally. That's my cue to get out. Okay. No, that's not fine. That's fine. No, that's not big deal. Yeah, I think Michelle started here. Did you hear music?
I could hear it. That's why I was like.
You heard full blast? A little bit.
I was hearing the news and the music, so I was
yeah,
confused as what was on first.
Yeah, okay.
So 30 more minutes.
30 more minutes. We got news for about 8, and then. Let's see.
Oscar Sunday. Whoa. See what else we can talk about. Thank you, Tom.
There you go.
In other news, we do have a caller. We've got a question. Max C. Max C. They've got a question regarding Hurricane Ida. They said Hurricane Ida mitigation.
Okay. Yes. Gotcha.
Another music bed at the end of 10:30.
Yeah, you're gonna do yeah, okay.
And I'll do the music bed that we do at the end of the
hour. Yeah. Did you like the Elvis movie? Do you think that was good?
Did you like it?
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Orleans police are working on a late-night homicide at around 10 p.m. last night. Police discovered the body of a man suffering from a number of gunshots.
Something new and different, huh?
I don't
Not
know.
homicide.
Boulevard. Victim was found dead at the scene. No other information about the killing has been released. Anyone with information on this incident was asked to call Crime Stoppers in Austin. A high-speed chase on Veterans Boulevard in Metairie ended in a crash last night. WWLT's Mike McDaniel has the details. A woman was arrested. The state police say she stole, then crashed one of their tow trucks. It led to a police chase in Metairie on Veterans Boulevard. Thankfully, no injuries. Troopers were at the Cleary Mall parking lot.
You think DeSantis can beat Trump?
A year and I think Trump's going to implode.
You do.
I'm just hoping if he does lose, he'll be
Gracious.
he'll rally everybody back.
Yeah.
Parades this weekend continue. The Old Veterans Parade kicks off at minutes. Why not? Early St. Patrick's Day Parade takes place at 1 o'clock. And in Nashville Parish, they celebrate Italian all weekend in independence with the Sicilian Heritage Festival. WWL Sports. Baseball this weekend. 1-0.
My eyes just got tired for some reason.
Did?
My eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's between the time.
I should have been taking as long as it did in October.
Well, it's easier though. You get at least you get an extra hour.
No. You lost an hour, right?
No, in October you gain an hour. You said.
Oh, but I know for some reason it took me a long time to get used to that time change. I don't know why.
Colin, maybe we ought to take a break at about 20, so we'll have some time. Yeah, probably around 20. Okay, because so we'll have a little time. Yeah. Okay. Hey, we're back for bonus coverage. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers, Sunseri, all things legal. We're going to 10:30, lead into LSU pregame for LSU Sanford baseball game. First pitch is at 11, and so we're a bonus half an hour.
That's right, bonus round.
So you're going to get paid extra.
Extra.
You're going to get paid extra today,
Colin's
Michelle.
going to get paid extra. I'm going to
Yeah,
get paid
we're all
extra.
getting paid extra for the extra half an hour. Let me knock out a couple of texts.
Okay.
One's good. It says, "Do you think Taysom Hill is a bust?" for the Saints, or they're not using him correctly. They need to use him better. He's not a bust. He's a great athlete. If they used him probably a little better, more effectively, he's a weapon that no other team would have. So that's my opinion. Next thing, we were having a discussion as to the definition of narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And we were afraid to make a definition because we're not psychologists.
Yeah.
Psychologists are in the mental health profession.
Never claimed to be.
But I do have a text who has a good definition of narcissist.
Ooh, okay.
Latoya Cantrell.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. That's the best one I could
There you
ever give. All right. Let's go.
Fine.
Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Max in Laplace. Got questions regarding a Hurricane Ida issue. Hey, Max, you on All Things Legal. Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers Sunseri. Good morning, Max. All right, you were hit hard by Hurricane Ida, man. You're in ground zero.
Of course, I immediately got a mitigation restoration team to come in to minimize any further damage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All right. When this mitigation team came in,
Who recommended the mitigation team?
actually, maybe were soliciting on this.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So they came in, started to hurt, they could not, of course, without, going through the property and so forth, give me
An estimate, right.
correct. Okay. Afterwards, I received a bill from them.
Mm-hmm.
That bill did not match what I was given in mitigation
Mm-hmm.
from insurance. Okay, so I, in conversation with them, thought that I had negotiated, a price, as to what I would receive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I sent them that money. They sent me a new invoice.
Mm-hmm.
New invoice with a new price.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent them that. They came back at me and said that they want more money now. And where do I stand with that?
Well, I think the problem is the gray area is they didn't define the scope of work. And now the inquiry, if you went to court, would be the value of their services. Now that's what you're issuing on in absence of scope. I think the scope defined by the insurance company is very helpful to you. Because I'm not saying the objective third party, but that's how much you receive for that particular service. So it would seem to me it would be very hard for them to argue that they're entitled to more than what the insurance company paid. And in fact, you're going to have to read your contract because a lot of the contracts state that the consideration is based on what insurance paid, and some of the contracts state that you wouldn't pay any difference between that. So you got to read the contract. 1, 2. We do have a lot of cases like that, and we sort of defend it by saying you didn't define the scope. You drafted the contract. You didn't define what the costs are. So therefore, we're going to make our own inquiry as to what the value of the service are that you rendered, and that's how much we're going to pay you.
Okay, so the second invoice and the payment of that still leaves it open to things like discovery and so forth. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Have you paid them what the insurance company tendered you?
I did.
Okay, well, yeah.
I did what I was given. Of course, they came back and said, well, we can negotiate further money, and if you receive further money, we want more money. Well, I battle with insurance like crazy to get what I did get,
No.
I had no desire to go back and, fight for more when,
Tell them that's all you pay them, and tell them you better be sure that your I's are dotted and T's are crossed if you're going to come for me for more. And see what they do. A lot of times, depending on how much it is, and if they have tenuous basis for recovery. It's one thing about sending a letter saying we're gonna, we'll make a demand. There's another going through the process. So you can wait and see if they will take this, take the next step. A lot of times they don't. Tell them, I paid you what the insurance company paid me. I paid the same scope. I'm not paying any more. And that I'll be ready for you if you go to litigation. That's what I would do. Provided you pay them. I mean, I think the inquiry of the court would be the fair value for their services rendered because they didn't define the scope of work for a particular price. All right, my man. All right, thanks for the call. Happening quite a bit with these restoration companies. All right, you know what I wanted to do?
What?
Go through some statistics.
Statistics?
Stats.
Okay.
About divorce. And this is a survey that said 41% of first marriages will end in divorce.
It's kind of depressing.
Well, it gets worse. 60% of second marriages will end in divorce, and 73% of third marriages end in divorce.
Wow.
And, okay, 5 leading causes of divorce. 75% lack of commitment.
Okay.
I can see that.
I can see that.
It's, it's the me, what's in it for me all the time, right?
Or it's,
I fell out of love. I know. You know what? And I have to say this. I shouldn't say this, but I do. Sometimes when I'm asking why you get a divorce, and they say I fell out of love, I just want to take my index finger and put it in my mouth and go, ah.
I never ask them why.
No, sometimes this is the background. Just if I say they fell out of love. I say, what do you mean you fell out of love? I mean, sometimes it is some bad thing, but a lot of times it's inconvenient.
Yeah.
All right. 59.6% infidelity or extramarital affairs.
Yeah, I don't have that. My percentage is much lower in my practice.
Now, interesting. Before, like a lot of texting and social media, you could determine affairs by unexplained periods of time that you didn't, I didn't know where he was or her for 8 hours.
Right.
That doesn't work anymore.
No.
So that, the infidelity is easier to identify given, social media. Because people turn off their phone now.
Right.
For 8 hours. And that's it.
Well, I think more people are more brazen.
Yeah.
I've got some that'll separate, and before I can even file a petition for divorce, they might be quote unquote engaged to the next one.
And it's all over social media, Oh, I had a cup of tea this morning, 100 likes. All right. 57.5% too much conflict or arguing. Yeah, absolutely. 45.1% getting married too young. Sometimes, yeah. And then 36.9% is financial problems. I think financial problems is probably a little higher. It seems to me.
Yeah, usually that is a component with something. Usually there's a dual, and that would be a component with something else.
All right. The average cost of divorce involving child custody, $23,300.
I think they're saying that's if you do have a custody.
If you have a child custody and child support issue.
Yeah.
So if you have the average cost of a straight divorce, it's $12,900 if you don't have the child custody issues.
I'm assuming that means with property. That's pretty low if you're trying to
average divorce attorney fee total is $11,300. Now this is a survey. It's just sort of give.
Yeah.
And then the average hourly fee is for an attorney is $270 per hour.
Okay.
So it's very expensive. It's not always, I think one of the dynamics we talk about is, especially if you had a 2-income home, you had two incomes paying one set of bills.
Sure.
And now you got one income paying 2 sets of bills. In a way. And so when you do that type of math, there's a big difference as far as lifestyle is concerned.
Yeah, and especially when you have child support, because child support is calculated on gross income, but we don't get gross income; we get net income. And so, that's where it throws people for a loop.
Yeah, and also too, when you have someone who's self-employed, that is another financial calculations that have to be done that are sometimes expensive and tenuous. Yes. So I just thought it interesting that it's not always, sometimes it's not always the solution or the expectations after the divorce. It's what you're doing is taking the least harmful course of action is the analysis, because they're both going to be not good. It's a bad choice a lot of times when you're in a situation, which one's least harmful to you.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go to our final break. This is Doug Sunseri, Michelle Demers, Sunseri, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout. Oh, Frankie Valli, that's it. I got a couple of texts I'm going to hit you with.
Who was in Greece? It wasn't Frankie Valli?
I think it's Frankie Avalon. Yeah, watch. Greece was... No, you know what? He was Frankie Valli. He was. That's right. You're right. You're 100% right.
You tell me I was wrong. You said you're wrong.
Frankie Valli, you're right. I'll correct. I'll make a correction.
Take your first shot at college hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right, just bet $20 on the bracket and you'll add $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spin betting everything from the money line to point spreads, bet a 5 versus 12 seed matchup you've been eyeing all the time. All in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. There's no better place to bet the tournament than on FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/ABEAR, that's HEBERT, and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bet.
I got a couple of texts I'll read you.
Okay.
Every moment more with FanDuel, all tournament long. 21 plus in present Louisiana permanent guarantees only. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus. Expires 45 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-7707. Good news if you've been diagnosed with lung cancer, but at least I have some better news for you. If you've been diagnosed with lung cancer and you're an industrial worker or worked in an industrial workplace, your cancer may have been caused by asbestos. Even if you smoked then or you're still a smoker, and if you are, you need to quit. Under this to help compensate victims of asbestos exposure, if you worked in a shipyard or refinery, HVAC, plumbing, or pipe fitting factories, or even auto repair like I did. I did a lot of brake work when I was working my way through school, and I held asbestos claims on law to get tested. You can call 8334 asbestos. Justinian Lane founded this firm. It's personal. It's not just business. He lost family members due to lung cancer after exposure to asbestos. If asbestos did get you sick, money's been set aside to compensate you and your family, and it's not going to hurt the company a bit. People at work here now. Go to asbestos claims on law. Call 8334 asbestos. Drowning in IRS debt? If you can't afford to pay your IRS debt due to economic hardship, you can now be free of IRS collection efforts by taking advantage of a special IRS tax hardship program. This program allows Americans who owe the IRS to resolve their delinquent tax debt once and for all. In some cases, maybe even reducing what you owe significantly. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Simply dial 800-506-5765. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back or have years of unfiled tax returns, help is standing by. Just call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-506-5765 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-506-5765 to see if you qualify. That's 800-506-5765.
Hey, we're back. We're back in spring almost.
I know.
The Beach Boys. You know, if the Beach Boys were within 300 miles of LSU,
You'd
I was
go.
I was gone. Let's finish up
Okay.
because we're on till 10:30. LSU Sanford. Pre-game's coming up. A couple of texts. I have two texts above my text that defines Mayor Cantrell as a narcissist.
Okay.
So I don't want to belabor that point about Mayor Cantrell, but it says. I've worked for a Fortune 500 company for 10 years and left the company 3 months prior to my marriage. I never touched or contributed to my 401k again. How is a 401k treated at divorce? I've been married 20 years.
There's some argument that if there's been no contributions, it can be considered, the civil fruits might not flow from it. But then there's another argument that it is still the civil fruits that flow from it.
So that's up. As far as the principal stays
The
intact,
principal stays intact.
it's just whether the
Whether the interest or dividends paid. No, it's not the market. It's not the market appreciation.
it's just any interest.
It's any interest or dividends.
So you might have a little dispute as far as that concerned.
Mhm.
All right, let me get your comment about this. It said child support is rigged against the fathers. It's sad. What is your comment to that?
Child support is rigged against the fathers.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. Both parents have the obligation. It's just if the kids live with the mom's paying the obligation to herself.
Now, but if the kids lived with dad and mom made more money, it would work the same way,
It works
right?
the same way.
Yeah.
The calculation's the same.
Yeah. So the calculation, if you're under $20,000 a month, or $40,000 a month?
40,000.
Under a 40,000, your calculation is pretty much defined. It's a math problem.
It is, unless there's a reason to deviate.
Gotcha. All right. Michelle, what is your contact information on the North Shore?
On the North Shore, it's 985-624-9697.
And on the South Shore, 504-837-1304, 504-837-1304. And we got a couple of minutes left, but Albert's, I think Albert is probably still in the process of offloading the alcohol for St. Patrick's Day parade. So,
Probably. And the weather looks like it's holding up, at least
Yeah.
over here.
so traffic is good. So y'all are welcome to go to Albert's house and
And listen,
feast.
I heard they can't throw like lemons or potatoes.
Yeah, they're not throwing the. Can they hand? I guess they could hand them, but Jeff's lawyers. It's lawyers.
It's lawyers.
Lawyers take
I guess
out all the
they used
fun.
to throw cabbage.
Yeah, they used to throw it. Now lawyers just squash all the fun.
They do. We do.
Man, because if it wasn't lawyers, they'd be chunking cabbage
And lemons.
and lemons. That's right, and coconuts and whatever else.
Yeah,
They'd be chunking
there you
it.
go.
But now you got some lawyers going to say we're going to sue. So they take out all the fun. Jeez. But yeah. So we'll and LSU. Gosh, I'm so excited about LSU this year. We're going to make some games. They may get through the season with losing less than 10 games.
That
That's
was
how
great.
good they are. And Southeastern beat Auburn last night.
Oh wow.
Yes. So congratulations, Southeastern beating Auburn. But I mean, they're like they used to have something called back in the old Yankees Murderers Row.
What's Murderers Row?
That when Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and they had their lineup, there was just no break in the lineup.
Oh, I see.
I shouldn't say that today. Somebody can get upset with me.
Yes,
But they have.
I mean, it was just so hard that the other team.
There was no weakness.
Yeah.
You know, in baseball, you can pitch around some players.
Yeah.
In order to get to the end of the order, there's nobody to pitch around. It's just unbelievable. So we just hope they can carry it through. But they're definitely the most talented team in the league. And Tennessee is our new Alabama.
Oh, it is.
When it comes to baseball, Tennessee is our new Alabama. So that series is going to be that's unbelievable. All right, so okay, we're going to throw it over to Chris Blair and Doug Thompson, the LSU Sports Network, their pregame show, All Things Legal. Michelle, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And Albert's going to cover it for us next week. We're going to be at a grandchild's baptism, so we're going to have Albert cover it, and he's going to have guests. So we'll see you next week. Stay tuned for the LSU Sanford game, pregame. We'll see you next week on All Things Legal. Thank you. Colin, thank you. Great job as always. There you go. There you go.